It is 10 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The first round of the Masters teed off this morning. Two tied atop the leaderboard as it currently stands. Aaron Rai at 3 under through 7 and Joaquin Niemann at 3 under through 4. Tennessee football announced a home-and-home with Georgia Tech on Wednesday for the 2026 and 2027 seasons. The Vols will go to Atlanta in 2026 before hosting the second matchup. The series replaces Tennessee's home-and-home with Nebraska that was canceled by the Cornhuskers this offseason. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
We got golf. We're excited to have the Masters back in our lives. It feels a little bit like Christmas Day on Masters Thursday morning. Good morning to you. Welcome in to 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have you. We got Ross. We got Justin. Where's Bert? Where the hell is Bert? What's he got to do?
He took a little doctor's visit to the orthodontist.
Well, like right when he's supposed to be doing his job?
How convenient.
I don't care about his orthodontist appointment if it starts at 10 a.m.
He better not come back with braces again.
I hope he does. I hope that's his punishment. He lost his retainers, and now he's scrambling.
I think the zoo animals would like that.
Yeah, probably. That's Lucas Panzica. We are all collectively with you until 1 o'clock. If Bert shows up, perhaps we'll lock him out. Perhaps we'll make him put his braces back on. I don't know what we'll do to him as punishment. That is TBD. But we have golf, and we're excited about it. Obviously, things have already teed off this morning. Jordan Spieth with a 40-foot birdie to start the day for him, teeing off next to Tyrell Hatton and Tom Kim. A brilliant 40-foot birdie putt to move straight into the red for the 2015 champion Jordan Spieth. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, the talk of the tournament, as is the custom. You did not know about this Scotty Scheffler injury that he sustained back around Christmas, where he was, it's something that really shocked me to find out. And again, it's not like we pay super close attention to golf.
I've never related to Scheffler more than hearing about just how he injured his hand in January.
Yeah, so he punctured his right hand when making ravioli.
That is the greatest injury to an athlete I've ever heard. And glad he's okay.
Around Christmas time, so a few months ago, broken glass, he's, I guess, shaping the ravioli with a wine glass?
Yes, it's a very effective way. You just press down on the dough, right? You make your pasta dough, and you have to make the shapes. I do it all the time. It's something my dad and I do every Christmas.
Okay.
But there
apparently are different... Scheffler, too, at Christmas, except this ended up with a giant shard of glass in his hand.
Yes, there are different tools that you can use. There are little, like, roly things that you can cut out the ravioli. There's like large sheets that have these squares that are imprinted that you just press down, or you can use the wine glass method. But it is a risky move to use a wine glass like with a stem and to be putting pressure on that, because just the slightest wrong amount of pressure, that thing's going through your hand. And so glad it wasn't worse than what it was for Scotty Scheffler.
He made a joke about it ahead of the Masters dinner, which also he caught some heat for, and we'll get into that here in just a second. But he said, in terms of if I was trying to take out the competition, I would definitely do a demonstration, something along those lines. But yeah, hopefully avoid the injuries. Maybe they'll cut up my steak for me. I won't have to use a knife or anything like that. We'll see.
So apparently they were at a rental house, and he and his family wanted to make it from scratch. They rolled out the dough, but they didn't have the right tools to cut the pasta because they were not in their own home. So he found a wine glass, and that's how he went about it. And he said, quote, I had my hand on top and it broke. I've heard nothing but horror stories since this happened about wine glasses, so be careful. It broke and the stem kind of got me in the hand. I can't live in a bubble. Like, I've got to live my life, and accidents happen. It could have been a lot worse.
And he seems to have rebounded just fine, and he's one of the favorites for the Masters yet again. He excels on that course at Augusta, and we're looking forward to seeing how that plays out for him. Rory, of course, chasing again the Grand Slam for him at this point in time, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. He is he's been trying to chase this for quite some time. Rory McIlroy is such an interesting figure in golf.
I feel like he's the most interesting player at the Masters every year that it rolls around, as he looks to win for the first time in Augusta, how close he's been to winning in Augusta, obviously on this drought of 10 years of not winning a major, and he's had 2 wins on tour so far this year. So he's kind of in form, so to speak. Every year, I feel like Rory McIlroy is right up there in the spotlight when it comes to the Masters.
Well, and he's been in the spotlight for all the live golf stuff that seems to have simmered down. What are they calling them? Like the Live 12 or something like that out there on the course this week. And, he's since had to walk that back because of everything that the PGA and the Live Tour went through. And now the merging of the two in some form or fashion that's taken place of that. Tyler Dial says of Scotty Scheffler, y'all could have told me this before I bet him outright.
This was months ago. He's fine. Although I wish he would have leaned into it and made ravioli his Masters dinner.
Well, did you see what his Masters dinner was?
Yeah, it looked like something you order at a Chili's or an Applebee's, but a fancy Masters version.
Do they serve tomahawk steaks at Chili's or Applebee's? I'm unfamiliar
Was
with
it tomahawk steaks? I saw the cheeseburger sliders, and I immediately thought Applebee's.
Wood-fired cowboy ribeyes.
Ooh.
The steaks were notable, according to Golf Channel, not for their heat, but for their girth, which is an interesting sentence to write there. It was all about the size of the steaks, said Nick Faldo. Seriously, they were closer to 2 pounds than a pound. The steak was that big, and he extended his hands to the size or the width of a football, apparently. I'm sure. What is the most amount? How many ounces of steak have you ever eaten in one sitting?
Oh,
I imagine it's disgusting.
I have no idea. I mean, at a Brazilian steakhouse, there's just no way of knowing, right?
Because they're just
keeps
shoveling it off.
It just keeps coming. You keep that card up, the green facing up at all times, so it's impossible to know. That's definitely the most amount of steak, probably the most amount of steak anybody's ever eaten in one sitting is at a Brazilian steakhouse. But there's no way to know. We're not weighing it along the way. We're just eating.
So the Masters provides us as a show our annual check-in with the sport of golf because we don't. I don't think anybody but Ross plays on a regular basis. I pick up a golf club like once every year during the summer. And this is a terrible idea.
The first half of this segment was describing his injury making ravioli in January. That was our Masters analysis.
Hey, baby, we talk about golf the way that we talk about anything else around here, through the prism of food and personal injury, as you waddle in here with your boot today.
Aaron Rye is currently atop the leaderboard, 4 under through 8. Joaquin Niemann is at 3 under through 4. Right on his heels. And I look forward, as always, to Chris Vernon's Masters update. Maybe we'll play that on the air at some point.
Yes. So, from my standpoint, I always come into Masters week, enjoying the sounds and the sights. And I watched the par 3, a good part of the par 3 competition yesterday. That's always just a bit of a heartwarming family affair. You've got people's kids and wives out there caddying for them and things like that. It's a really cool thing then. And to have Scott Van Pelt broadcasting that for ESPN is always a bit of a treat. And then you turn things over to Jim Nantz and the rest of the crew on CBS. Voice of the Titans, Taylor Zarzour, is doing work for is it PGA Radio or is it the Golf Channel? I'm not entirely sure. But if you want a preview, I guess that's not really a preview of what it might sound like, given that the Masters is one thing and Titans football games.
I think it's PGA Radio on Sirius XM.
Yeah, Sirius XM.
Okay, very good. But for me, it's always, all right, so what's happening in golf lately? Like, besides personal injury due to ravioli making and things like that, like what's happening in the sport of golf? And it's just kind of been in the lurch for the past few years. Feels like it's been in a bit of disarray since the Disruptor League called Live Golf came into our lives. And we're 3 years into the Live experiment. Nobody seems really happy with how that league has progressed. And then you bring all those golfers into the majors and you start to get quotes from people like Brooks Koepka, who I maybe complained is too strong a term, but was talking about how he wishes that Liv were further along. And John Rahm apparently is not overwhelmingly happy about the breakaway tour. Now, that obviously has nothing to do with the Masters, but it's always interesting to see how those two contingents coexist and how that dynamic has changed over the course of the last 3 years.
I just want to be on my couch Sunday afternoon watching a photo finish on the back nine. When's the last time we had that? We had it. We thought we might have had it last year. Colin Morikawa melted down a little bit. Scotty Scheffler ran away with it.
Well, and Morikawa is somebody to keep an eye on this week for sure.
And Scheffler is the favorite, obviously, at plus 400. Rory at plus 600. John Rahm then drops to plus 1,400 as the third favorite to win the Masters. But I just want to be enthralled on Sunday. I can't remember the last time that I was edge of my seat watching the last 4 or 5 holes of the Masters on Sunday.
It was Tiger, but not for that reason. But it was just because Tiger was back and he was winning the Masters. And I was walking around somewhere. I was still living in an apartment complex at the time. So what was that? 19? Has it been that long?
It was 2019. Yeah.
2019. So yeah, that was the year. Yeah, the year before I bought my place. I was walking through like the common area of my apartment building, and I remember there's nobody else in there, and I just remember having the Masters on TV, stopping, sitting down, and just sitting there and watching it, and totally enthralled. Now, Tiger poses a totally different figure than the rest of these golfers. Tiger Woods is as big as the sport of golf, and he lends a certain air to the proceedings that, will make you stop and watch and see what's going on, no matter whether he's in danger of missing the cut or is very much in the heat in the final round on Sunday. But there's no such, obviously, with Tiger's continued injuries, there's no such opportunity for that this year. So you kind of have to assign. Scheffler has really done well to carry the mantle, though, and kind of dominate the way that he has. I know this year hasn't gone to plan because of the injury, and I think he had it's about a month-long recovery, because it had to be surgically removed, the glass from his hand, and obviously that would impact your golf game as you try and work your way back. But he said yesterday when he was interviewed at the par 3 competition, I can't remember if it was Jeff Darlington or Laura Rutledge who was speaking with him at the Masters yesterday, that he feels as prepared for this tournament as he's felt all year. So,
and here he comes, just birdie number 2. He is 1 under through 3.
All right, very good. So we'll keep you updated with the Masters throughout the course of the show today. 615-737-1045 is the number if you would like to participate. The F&M Bank chat also at your disposal. So I see in the rundown it says Nico, a top 10 QB question mark. What did you find on the internet that is going to take us into this discussion?
Andy Staples of On3 Sports put out a graphic that's been going around. It was a topic on his podcast, Andy and Ari, with Ari Wasserman, where he ranked the top 10 quarterbacks in college football for 2025. And Nico was a notable omission.
So we will discuss amongst ourselves. Coming up next on Buck Rising, it's 104.5 The Zone. Andy Staples got Vol Twitter on fire with his top 10 college football quarterbacks of 2025 list, courtesy of On3 Sports. Developed a lisp there for a second. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. There is no debate. Download the Hattie B's app. Get mobile delivered hot chicken to your doorstep, to your office, wherever you need your Hattie B's. They got you covered, or any of their fine Middle Tennessee locations. Or if you listen to us in Georgia, they're in Atlanta. If you listen to us in Texas, they're in Dallas and Austin. If you listen to us in Nevada, they're in Las Vegas as well. Taking over the world. Hattie B's. All right, so before we start with this, let me remind you that this is a list. It is a list by a writer. It is a list that is opinion-based. It is not anything official. It is not anything, overwhelmingly... It should not bother you as much as it probably did bother you yesterday, because I'm sure I didn't see necessarily. I didn't seek out the tweet to look at the replies from Vols fans who are always very passionate and very engaged online. We know this. But I imagine it was not well received to see Nico Iamaleava omitted from the top 10 college football quarterbacks, according to Andy Staples of On3 Sports. On3.com is where you can check out said list for yourself. And the list looks like this. You've got, at the top of it, DJ Lagway from Florida, Lenora Sellers, Cade Klubnik, Arch Manning, Garrett Nussmeier, John Mateer, Drew Aller, Sam Levitt, Darian Mensah, and Carson Beck at Miami rounds out the top 10. Now, I personally, again, this, maybe it's just I'm doing the NFL thing, and I shouldn't with college quarterbacks because we're talking about them in college, not as prospects. But I'm surprised to see Aller that low at Penn State. That was probably the biggest surprise to me. Was there anything that struck you? I don't necessarily have a huge problem with the list, but that was the biggest thing that struck me is, Drew Aller at 7? That seems low.
Yeah, this list from Andy has to be who he believes will be the top 10 quarterbacks in college football in 2025, not who currently is based on what they did in 2024, right? Because Drew Aller is the most accomplished quarterback on this list. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier's played a lot of football, has a wicked arm, throws a lot of interceptions, but can make a lot of exciting plays down the field as well, decided to come back for another year at LSU. But Drew Aller has accomplished the most, right? He took Penn State to the Big Ten championship. Obviously, they were on the cusp of the national championship game last year in the college football playoff. And then there's Sam Levitt of Arizona State, who did the same thing. He won the Big 12 with Arizona State, and he got to the college football playoff and was literally, Arizona State was a defensive stop away from eliminating Texas and moving on to the semifinal. So it's kind of all over the place here. You have the high upside guys. DJ Lagway just personifies that. He is the definition of high upside. I think DJ Lagway is going to be an awesome player. His first year at Florida, where he pretty much took over as the full-time starter in the back half, especially when Graham Mertz got hurt, which was against Tennessee. Before that, they were kind of doing this dual quarterback situation. Lagway finished completing about 60% of his passes, 1,915 yards, 12 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Crazy athletic, great arm, all of the qualities that you want in a starting quarterback, DJ Lagway has. And then Lenora Sellers, who was just electric at the end of the season.
Yeah, came on the scene late and made all those South Carolina coaches look probably way smarter than they actually are.
And then Cade Klubnik in there at 3, who we've seen a lot of. Carson Beck at 10, who we've seen a lot of. John Mateer, the Washington State transfer who goes to Oklahoma. Maybe a lot of people haven't seen a lot of Mateer, but he's played a lot of football, and I think he's going to take a big step in that system this year. So clearly this is just who Andy believes will be the best 10 quarterbacks in 2025. There's a lot of projection here with this mixture of accomplished veterans and rising stars, but Nico is the obvious omission. It's worth noting his co-host, Ari Wasserman, did have Nico ranked number 10 in his top 10 ranking, but Andy Staples did not. Arch Manning in here at number 4. Arch Manning is exciting. He's a 5-star prospect. Texas rolled him out in a lot of packages. He made some fun plays last year, and he started a couple games. But we have no idea what Arch is going to be in 2025. It is a fascinating year of the quarterback in college football this year. It's such a mixture of guys like Carson Beck, who at one point last offseason we thought might be the number one pick in this draft that's about to happen.
Sure.
And guys like Lenora Sellers, a 3-star prospect that just took off last year. And the 5 stars like DJ Lagway and Arch Manning and Nico that were still waiting to really just grab the reins of the sport as one of its bona fide stars. It's a really interesting crop of quarterbacks.
All right. So if Andy Staples, and I know he recently was on the morning show at some point.
He joined the morning
yesterday.
show. Oh, there you go. Justin Hawkins.
He was on yesterday.
Okay. So you can check that podcast out. Did he talk about this list?
No, it came out after.
Okay, that's disappointing. But you can still listen to the interview. I'm sure it was good. So for me, just looking at this list and understanding that it's a projection and that it's taking a variety of different things into account, what might keep Nico off this list beyond just Nico? To me, the thing that stands out, and we'll preview the spring game with Mike Keith on Friday tomorrow, which we'll look forward to, 12:20.
Yep.
Ooh, fun. The offensive line that we talked about with Ramon, the reconfiguration of the offensive line, that can potentially cause a quarterback to see a dip in production. In the NFL, C.J. Stroud was the best example of that last year, where he was excellent his rookie year, and he came back this year, and he regressed because the offensive line in front of him was pretty poor. So there's no guarantee that, the Vols offensive line will be bad or anything like that, but it's going to be different, and that will take some time, and that can cause some growing pains for any offense and any quarterback. Also, Nico last year, based on the sample size that we have of him, understanding that it's his first full season as a starter, I have no problem with him being left off this list. Because if you ask me, and I'm not going to say that I would take Diego Pavia over Nico Iamaleava straight up. I'm not foolish or gaslighting enough to go to such extremes. But I do think that there are things that Pavia did and that there is experience there that Pavia had to bring to the table for Vandy last year that opens the door to the conversation about, between the two of them, who provided more outright for their offense, not just as a passer, obviously. And there are differences in the way that the offense is run. And there are clearly things that Nico has so much more of a higher talent ceiling to do at some point in his career. And you could see the start of that in his first full season. But it's an open conversation because Nico was barely a top 10 quarterback in the SEC last year. And they made adjustments as an offense, as a team. They played to their strengths, which is the running game and the defense, just as they did with Joe Milton, understanding that Milton and Nico are different players. Based off last year, I take zero issue with that because it's a projection. And what I saw from Nico last year was, yeah, that projects pretty well, but we'll see.
I mean, saying barely top 10 in the SEC feels a bit of a strong statement. It's not like the SEC was littered with star players. I mean, Quinn Ewers obviously would be up there. Carson Beck was not good last season. Jalen Milroe would be up there, obviously. Garrett Nussmeier, Jackson Dart, and then Lenora Sellers. But then you're starting to get into... then you're talking about Diego Pavia and Oklahoma's quarterback situation disaster, Auburn's quarterback situation disaster. But I get what you're saying.
Well,
Nico,
let me just pose it to you this way, okay? Where do you think do you have this in front of you in terms of the entire SEC quarterbacks? Because I've got this list on CFB stats.
I don't have the quarterbacks in front of me, but
okay.
I can. But
so I've got the SEC quarterbacks in terms of and these are just counting stats, so it doesn't mean it's not the end all be all. But if you had to guess where Nico finished in the SEC among quarterbacks last year in terms of total passing yardage, what would you say?
Oh, total passing yardage?
Yeah.
Oh, bottom half?
You would be correct. He is 8th. So that's not technically, so that's top half, but he's 8th. So just between Peyton Thorne at Auburn and Brady Cook at Missouri. Touchdown passes. Where would you say that Nico finished in the SEC last year?
Oh, touchdown passes last year. I'll say, 6?
7th.
Okay.
He was behind Diego Pavia, who had 20 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, and we know Pavia's legs are a big part of their game as well. Nico, 19-5 last year. Yards per attempt.
Ooh, 8th.
He is tied for 8th with 4 other players, Beck, Ewers, and Marcel Reed. of Texas A&M. There's a logjam of them after Brady Cook as you get further down the list. Now that's also a product of the offense and things that were available for Nico to take and some of the offensive line situation that they were working through last year. Again, counting stats do not tell the entire story, but he is fringe in the top 10 of the SEC last year. So as you look to project him in 2025, understanding that there are a significant amount of changing parts and pieces around him, as every college football program, especially now, goes through, I take zero issue with him being left off a top 10 list. Because if he's 11th, I'm not wringing my hands over it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure. But if you're going to take issue with Nico, or if you're not going to take issue with Nico being left off of a top 10 list because of the sample size, then DJ Lagway being the number one quarterback in college football, that...
Again, a projection.
Apply that same argument.
Lenora Sellers is a projection, a big projection.
Exactly. Lagway is a huge projection to say he'll be the best quarterback in college football in 2025. It wouldn't be insane to apply that projection to Nico as he looks to take a year 2 leap, has more starting experience under his belt, has the same 5-star talent profile of a DJ Lagway. Not saying they're the same player, but the ceiling is somewhat similar. But don't get me wrong. Nico, for the Nico Iamaleava experience at Tennessee to be a success with the money he's making, has to be a star this year. Like anything short of that is a disappointment for Nico.
Correct.
He can be a good quarterback, and he could leave Tennessee very well liked and having won 9 or 10 games both years. Maybe the Vols sneak into the playoff again, and it'll be viewed as a good tenure. But for it to match up with the expectations, he has to be a bona fide star for the Vols in 2025, which means he has to uplift the offense, not the other way around. And that's not to say Nico was a passenger last year, but he has very outwardly talked about taking more ownership in the offense, being a more vocal leader, being more present around the facility. As when you look at the leaders that this team really circled around last year, just for example, the guys that were in the middle of the huddle right before every game. You're talking about Dylan Sampson. You're talking about Brew McCoy. You're talking about Cooper Mays. Those guys are all gone. Like, Nico has got to just grab the reins of that role and elevate this offense in 2025. And other people have to do their part, and Tennessee has to be much better in pass protection, offensive line, replacing 4 or 5 starters. For the first time, we're going to see an offensive line in the Heupel era that will include a starter that was recruited and developed by Josh Heupel's staff, not inherited from Pruitt's staff or acquired in the transfer portal. David Sanders Jr., or maybe it's William Satterwhite at center, maybe it's both. But we will cross that benchmark in 2025. A lot of overhaul on the O-line. Wide receiver has an opportunity to be more explosive at that position than it was last year, but a lot of unproven faces. A lot of guys that need to take a year 2 leap, which plenty of players have at that position in the Heupel era, but it still has to happen. So, absolutely. And you mentioned Diego Pavia. It's kind of apples to oranges, but if you were to say...
It is for sure apples to oranges.
But if you were to say which quarterback between Pavia and Nico met or exceeded expectations within his respective fan base more, Pavia by a mile.
Close.
We got this kid over from New Mexico State. We'll see what happens. And then he leads you to your biggest win in program history, a 6-6 campaign with a bowl win, right? And Nico Iamaleava helped lead Tennessee to the college football playoff. And that's kind of where I land on it. I know Tennessee was a very run-first, defense-dominated team last year, but Nico was, I think we'd say, fine, right?
He's fine.
He was fine in 2024. And they won 10 games and went to the college football playoff.
There's some speed bumps along the way, and that's what you fully expected. I really liked the toughness that he brought, particularly in that playoff game, that there was no quit, right? That he's, he leads a different way. He's not one of these emotionally explosive individuals the way that Pavia is, but he clearly, to me, displayed that fight that is required to be a leader at that position beyond having the traits that make you think, okay, he should be able to take the next step, provided that he is properly supported, which is the thing that we're trying to figure out, the wide receiver situation at Tennessee, the offensive line situation at Tennessee, turnover at running back. Again, not uncommon for any college football program at any given point. I do like the idea of him being left off these lists, though, because there is something to be said about the intrinsic value of motivation heading into a year. He is going to be scrutinized. He plays at a fishbowl of a program at Tennessee. I assume that you are not just speaking on behalf of you when you say that anything other than Nico turning into a star this year would be a disappointment. I assume you're speaking on behalf of your fan base. So God knows they're going to be watching him closely.
Well, and I also say that because in order for Tennessee to be back in the playoff, to continue to elevate as a program, there's no other path towards that in 20. Like, Dylan Sampson's gone.
Yeah, Nico has to be the one to elevate them.
Exactly. Like, Dylan Sampson broke multiple single-season records running the football last year. He was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Tennessee probably going to be more by committee at the running back spot this year. Like I said, a lot of unproven faces at receiver talent. Yes, you got a 5-star here, you got a 4-star there, a transfer here. But I don't know who I can sit here and say with confidence will be Tennessee's number 1 receiver next year. I have no clue. It could be Chris Brazzell taking a year 2 leap after transferring from Tulane. It could be Mike Matthews. He has the talent to do it, absolutely. But I don't know. I can't say with any degree of certainty. But I do know, I think I know what they have in Nico, and he has to be the one to elevate this offense in 2025. The expectation level was so high for him in 2024, he probably wasn't going to meet it, right? In 2025, it's interesting, at least in this particular conversation that Andy and Ari were having on On3 Sports, he's not being discussed as one of those premier names that you think about at the quarterback position. And I'm with you. Maybe that is a good thing for Nico to just kind of operate in silence in Knoxville and just remind everybody, oh, yeah, this guy was the number 1 quarterback in his class, has all the talent in the world, and he's working for an offensive line or an offensive play caller that at his best is among the best in college football.
Yeah, I don't think it is possible for an individual to operate in silence, but it is impossible for a Tennessee quarterback to operate in silence. There's just too much noise around.
Yeah, that's in the grand scheme of things. But it is interesting. DJ Lagway, people fell in love with DJ Lagway last year, with the talent of DJ Lagway last year.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in to the conversation today. Do you feel that Nico Iamaleava should be a top 10 quarterback in college football heading into 2025?
Where he ends up in next year's draft will be interesting, assuming he comes out, and maybe we'll be talking about him at the Install Live at the Analog at the Hutton Hotel in 2026. But for now, we'll probably be talking about Cam Ward. So join 104.5 The Zone for a live taping of the install with Greg Cosell hosting by him at the Analog at Hutton Hotel Friday, May 2nd. Be there live as Greg Cosell breaks down the Titans 2025 draft. He'll take your questions from the audience and more thanks to Two Rivers Ford, Hattie B's, and Wholesale Supply. Tickets are on sale now starting at $30. Go to 1045thezone.com to purchase.
There's going to be a bunch of people that try to buy tickets on Sunday after they draft this quarterback, and I'm going to look around and I'm going to say, no, I told you. Buy your tickets now, because once you draft Cam Ward, that event's going to sell out. And there's only so many tickets that we have available right now with literally 2 weeks to go before the NFL draft. So don't come tweeting at me or Greg or anybody else that you didn't get your tickets in time. If you draft this quarterback and you want to be a part of a really fun event and something new that we're going to do this year, we also have some special announcements that we may or may not be making next week. But something new that we're going to do this year is Greg's evaluations. Like, Greg does a scouting profile for every player. Not every player in the draft. I think he does about 150 to 200 every year. This year, we are going to have Greg's draft evaluations printed out at the table for people so they can follow along with Greg's breakdowns on the screen the many screens that we have at the Analog Room in the Hutton Hotel. So you'll not only be able to read and see how Greg went about scouting these guys and the games that he watched and the specific traits that he's going to talk about, but you'll essentially have your own guide to follow along with Greg's tape breakdowns that we'll do on Friday, May the 2nd. Get your tickets at 1045thezone.com today.
It'll be nice for Greg to be breaking down a quarterback.
Yeah.
At the Install Live.
We've been doing a lot of tackle stuff lately.
Yeah, no offense to J.C. Latham, but I feel like it'll be a different vibe.
We did a quarterback at the 23 show, but, famously that did not go to plan. Anyway, coming up next, there were chants in an NBA arena for a general manager to be fired last night. We'll tell you what happened with Luka and the Mavs coming up next. So we got a revenge game last night. It's always fun. And particularly fun when it's having to do with one of the worst trades anywhere in professional sports. Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers clinched a playoff berth last night, and they did so against the Dallas Mavericks, of course, who traded Luka away for a nonsense deal. Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, rare enough thing that we talk about the NBA around here, but it's a big enough story that it's worth noting because they were very welcoming to Luka back in Dallas. Did you watch any of this game?
I did. I was flipping back and forth between this game and the Inter-Miami LAFC game in CONCACAF Champions Cup where Lionel Messi was going end to end, and it was just awesome.
He had a big night.
Oh, my God. It was electric. But it was a very welcoming vibe. Yeah, I mean, you could feel the love for Luka. I imagine nobody on the planet felt lonelier than Nico Harrison last night down there. I mean, there's a lot of Laker fans in the building, too, but the Mavs fans were very happy to see Luka, and let it be known.
Yeah, the Mavs tribute to Luka made him tear up in the pregame, and it was lovely to see that. And then Luka wiped away his tears, and then he whipped the Mavericks' ass. It was a dominating performance by Luka as he, after he pulled his head out of the towel that he had buried it in, as he was expressing his emotions about being honored by his former franchise. And the tribute video was pretty long. I mean, he's been with them for a couple of years at this point. They win 112-97 and then clinched that playoff berth. I saw J.J. Redick making some quotes to the effect of, I thought he was going to get 50 talking about Luka. I was disappointed.
You got 45. 16 of 28 from the floor, 7 of 10 from three.
I looked up in the first half, and he had like 31 with 2 minutes to go. It was crazy. It was crazy. He was leading all scorers by a mile. And so whether his conditioning is right or good enough for Nico Harrison and the Dallas Mavericks, it's really just a Nico thing, right? When you see a trade this bad, and, the A.J. Brown thing pales in comparison to what happened to the Mavericks in this situation. Obviously, I have no information on how this went down, the inside details, and there's been very little reported, frankly, about like what really went wrong here. But the optics of it, Lucas, just make it seem so personal. Like Nico Harrison trading away this player, arguably the most talented offensive player in the NBA right now, for pennies on the dollar to the Los Angeles Lakers, as if they need any more of an embarrassment of riches of talent that has played for that franchise. To me, it just seems like personal issues got in the way of business. And I don't know how you can ignore that. I'm sure there are other explanations or an accumulation of things that built up to the point where Nico Harrison just threw his hands up in the air and said, all right, I've had enough. He won't stop drinking beer, even though he scores points, at will. I'm sick of it. You cannot, he has to be fired. He has to be fired. It's crazy. That thing has blown up in their face in so many different ways that they couldn't even have possibly imagined. You could envision Anthony Davis getting hurt, right? Basically within two weeks of getting there. Taylor
says on the F&M Bank chat, Anthony Davis may be the only person that felt worse than Nico Harrison yesterday.
And people are pointing out
13-point double-double for AD yesterday.
In the chat that he's a scapegoat for ownership. I don't know if you've read some of the reporting on Mark Cuban getting forced out or being, kind of sidelined as a part of Mavs ownership, or he's still a part of Mavs ownership, but he's no longer the face of Mavericks ownership. So ownership making the call, again, but that doesn't detract from the theme of you let personal feelings get in the way of business. I don't care who you are. You can't fire owners. That's tough. Owners make bad decisions all the time, and they impact fan bases negatively. They impact coaching staffs and front offices negatively, and certainly they impact players negatively with how, just at a whim they can operate. And they can do these things because at the end of the day, it is their team. If they are the controlling owner, then they have the final say on everything. And you just kind of have to, eat it for a period of time. But I don't know how the Mavs as a franchise rebound from something this catastrophic. Mike Herndon came on here a couple of weeks ago wearing a Spurs hat. He's been a Dallas Mavericks fan, I think his entire life.
Yeah, he disavowed him.
He disavowed them, and I'm certain that he's not the only one. And they're raising season ticket prices next year, which is just insult to injury.
I mean, maybe there is something personal there, but if you have to read between the lines and figure out why in the world they would do this, it would have to be because they believe that the off-court habits that they allege about Luka Doncic would catch up to him in a way that would work against them if they gave him a Supermax deal. Right? I mean, he's 26 years old now. He just turned 26 in February. So the logical, if you're trying to drum up some sort of logic on why to trade Luka, will be, well, this is going to catch up to him at some point, and he's not going to be the same player at the age of 29 or 30 when he's in the midst of this Supermax deal. So we'll see. But
I think we saw.
At face level, well, no, we didn't. Because, again, the only way... The Mavericks look like fools right now, and I agree with you. It's, at surface level, one of the worst trades of my lifetime in any sport. But the only way the Mavs or Nico Harrison could come out looking any sort of right on this is if Luka does experience some sort of crazy drop-off in 3 to 4 years. If that were to happen, would that not be the victory lap for Nico Harrison?
Well, for ownership and then by extension, Nico Harrison.
Yeah.
Because Nico Harrison does feel like a bit of a fall.
Oh, he'll be gone by then, for sure. For sure.
They'll have fired him.
But, would that not be the only thing that could happen for the Mavs to say, see, that's why?
Yeah, but Lucas, they've almost guaranteed that it doesn't happen because you've given him that motivation.
Oh, for sure.
Like you've sent him away and you've all but guaranteed that it won't happen because he, as a professional athlete, and the way that most of them operate, in their headspace is, no, I'm going to make you pay for this for the rest of your life.
For sure. And that's up to him. But
did you see, I mean, again, the emotion. He's been there for how many years?
He was drafted in 2018.
Okay, so he's been there for a considerable period of time.
About 8 years.
Now. He has become, he's a 26-year-old man now, but he got there as a child, as most NBA prospects do when they're drafted, whether it's a year out of college or as an international player.
Yeah, he was 19.
So he has become an adult in Dallas. Dallas probably has a great deal of meaning to him and to his family. And to see the level of emotion that evoked from him last night meant to me that maybe it wasn't just about the Supermax deal for Luka. Maybe he genuinely wanted to do great things with the Mavericks franchise, and as any 26-year-old does, experience some things that he would have to overcome and he would have to work through. But that doesn't guarantee that he's going to, bottom out at 28 or something like that just because he likes hookah and beer. Now, ideally, you would like for him to take his conditioning and his preparation and things like that more seriously, but that's fine. He's so talented that he can overcome it, and you don't want him to fall into that trap of, well, he can just do this at a high level for the rest of his life because he's just that good. But now you've almost guaranteed, as the Mavericks, that won't happen because you sent him away and you made it a whole thing and you made yourselves an international laughingstock to the extent that he's an international player and known around the world. I just don't see how this could ever have resulted in any kind of win for them and how they could not have seen this coming.
It was wild watching and hearing Mavs fans openly cheer anytime Luka hit a three or made a big play yesterday. It was, we've been counting down the days to that situation, Luka coming back to Dallas. I don't think I saw Nico Harrison. I know he was in the house
when... The camera flashed to it.
Oh, okay. All right. I did not see, because I know he was there when the Mavs went to L.A. after the trade, and that was right after the trade.
He was standing in the tunnel as the fans were chanting, "Fire Nico."
Oh, what must that feel like?
It looked very uncomfortable. It looked like, the thing about it, though, was he knows that's coming. I almost think he has to remove himself from that situation. I think, PR has to get in somebody's ear. Like, this is a failure on a couple of different levels. Don't even put him out there. You know what's coming. Even if the Mavericks won that game, like, there's no way that ends well for Nico Harrison. Like, Nico Harrison didn't get to take a victory lap around the Mavs arena if they beat Luka last night, and they didn't. And it is compounded by the fact that the Lakers clinched a playoff spot with that win. It's just so messy, so messy. And the worst part of it, Lucas, is he's standing, like, there are other people standing in the tunnel with him, but they're standing around him and they're not acknowledging the chance, and Nico Harrison is not acknowledging the chance. But, like, nobody even, it doesn't seem that anybody in that moment like reached out to him just like, hey, maybe we just kind of sink back into the tunnel a little bit. Maybe we just kind of move out of the camera tunnel.
You better be front facing.
Maybe we fade to the shadows like I'm going to do to Bert later when he decides to actually show up for work. But it's a tough scene. It's a tough scene indeed. And the Lakers get it done, and Luka was excellent, and the Mavs are again a laughingstock. Second hour coming up next. There are draft nuggets that are floating about, and one specific to the Titans about a position group that you may be, quote, aggressively targeting. Find out what that is coming up in the second hour. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Lake lovers, listen up. Tennessee National, a highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf, and marina community, is having a spring sales event, releasing a limited number of lake lots to the public with upgrades and savings. One day only, Saturday, April 26th. You can get a cottage package with a boat slip from $379,900. You can get a lake lot with a covered boat slip from $64,900. For the first time ever, you can also get fully furnished lakefront townhomes. Private golf cart access to a new marina and resort are available. 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, a brand new 26,000 square foot clubhouse, waterfront concerts overlooking a beautiful lake, pickleball, pools, on-site coffee shop, and much more. So play on the lake or simply relax at the waterfront restaurant just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. Financing is available, so enjoy life on the water, fresh air, boat rides, and sunshine. Celebrate the lake life and make memories. Limited property release, Saturday, April 26th. Visit TennesseeNational.com, or better yet, give us a call, 865-408-9992 to secure your private tour. Memories begin here.
It is 11 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. The first round of the Masters at Augusta National teed off this morning. So far, 2 players tied atop the leaderboard. Aaron Rai at 4 under through 10. Steven Yeager also 4 under through 9 as the first round continues. Tennessee football announced a home-and-home with Georgia Tech on Wednesday for the 2026 and 27 seasons. The Vols will head to Atlanta to play at Bobby Dodd Stadium in 2026 before hosting the second matchup. The series replaces Tennessee's home-and-home with Nebraska that was canceled by the Cornhuskers this offseason. And the Nashville Predators are on the road tonight at Utah. Puck drop is at 8 p.m. Only 3 games left in the regular season. Head coach Andrew Brunette is back with the team after being out for the last couple of games dealing with a personal matter. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour underway, and we've got some draft nuggets for you, courtesy of ESPN, specific to the Titans. Thanks for hanging out, stopping by, or sticking around if you've been with us for the first hour. Robert has emerged from the shadows. Do you want to tell people what you were doing? Were you on assignment? Were you potentially interviewing animals at the zoo? As we continue our ongoing negotiations about sending you out as our boots-on-the-ground zoo correspondent.
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately for myself, I had misplaced my retainer, and I had to go to the orthodontist to get that replaced, and I am $500 poorer for it. Did you guys know how much retainers were?
I've never had braces or retainer in my life.
Well, listen, the only thing you need to worry about retaining is the talent inside the studio with you, with me, and Lucas. But when I went to the studio today, I was like, look, dude, can I just get my top retainer done? Can I just get, I don't need the bottoms. My bottoms don't look like Will Ferrell's bottoms. They're straight, like a picket fence down there. But $500, $250 per is steep. And the whole time I got in there, you know I've got a way with women. They're just all naturally drawn to me.
And
as I walked in the offices, one woman dunked on me for losing my retainers. I get to the back, another dental hygienist dunks on me for losing my retainers. Every girl over there had to let me know how I was a poor man for misplacing it. And I had to explain.
And then they made you poor by charging you $500.
And they laughed about it. They laughed about it. I didn't even have my wallet. I left it in the car. They were like, no, you can't leave. Don't leave yet. You have to pay for these retainers. But the worst part is how I lost them. Y'all know that I am a perpetual sleep eater. It's not something I plan to do, not something I set out to do. But in my sleep, I will wake up and Sleepy Bert decides he wants a little snack. Go downstairs, eat a handful of grapes, eat a mandarin, pack of nabs.
What did you eat the other day after this wedding? What did you sleep eat the other day that you were telling me and Lucas about?
Why do you want me to trudge through this?
Because this is the most extreme example, and I don't think I should let you off the hook by saying, you just happened to stumble into some grapes.
You did bring up the sleep eating.
Okay.
This is the most recent example.
So we went to Banana's weddings. It was great. At the end, they ordered pizza, enough pizza for everyone to take a whole pie home with them. Great. I'm a fat boy. I'm kind of drunk. I like eating pizza. We go back to the hotel, and I knocked out. Well, apparently sometime in the night, I decided I was a little hungry, and I woke up and I ate all the toppings off the whole pizza.
I love the moments when I can actually get you to feel shame. They are so few and far between, but I could tell how loath you were to say that into a microphone.
The pause before he said what he did.
When I woke up, I was like, dang, I could really go for a slice of Czar right now, but I also have terrible indigestion. And I opened the pizza box, and it looks like someone ripped someone's face off. It is the whole complete pie, every piece still attached to each other, connected, but every piece of cheese, pepperoni, topping, everything had been ripped off of the pizza.
I love how sleepy you was like, I should avoid the bread.
He's worried. That's why
low carb.
Trying to watch his figure.
Low carb.
I'm telling you, I have tried in the last, probably ever since I got moved off the morning show and I had a little bit more of a regular schedule to be healthy. I can't tell you how hard it is to count calories, to be in a calorie deficit when you don't know what you eat at night. It's like, oh, I did really good today. I'm proud of you, Bert. You were underneath your 2350. Good for you.
2350, Jesus.
That's not, what are you talking about?
That's a lot.
Well, I got to eat the protein too. Don't get me started on my diet. My diet is none of your concern, Mister. we don't all have the genetics of Egyptian gods. Some of us are built on Irish potatoes and cheese. It runs through my genes. It ain't nothing I could do about it.
If your doctor ever were to ask you, what have you eaten in the last 24 hours? You could say, a sandwich, some cereal, and potentially a pizza. I woke up with a pizza box in my bed, but I can't know for sure.
Maybe a magnet. Who knows?
I have a plan for you to recoup this $500 I've just spent. I think that we should set up a nocturnal camera.
Oof.
In your home.
I sleep naked.
Oh, God.
Go ahead and shoot
Well, not
that down.
only do you sleep naked, I mean, it's act like you wear clothes when we do prime time. I'm just grateful.
I do primetime naked as
I'm
well.
grateful that the camera only shows you from your red pasty shoulders up.
We'll censor it in post. Or are you suggesting like a
Who's
live
gonna
stream?
censor it?
I feel like this could be an OnlyFans opportunity. Only Bert.
Zonly fans.
There you go. Start it up. OnlyFans. Come watch Bert sleepwalk through his house naked, eating a handful of grapes.
Listen, for the money that the OnlyFans models are making on the internet, I'll sell feet pics. I'll take pictures of somebody else's feet and sell them on the internet. It's crazy.
I unfortunately also have ugly feet. My toes, I can hold a pencil and write my name. I am exemplary at climbing trees.
What primate are you?
I'm telling you, I have some ugly. One time in college, one of my buddies, he was into feet. I was like, oh yeah, check these bad boys out. He's like, I want you to know right now, you have the ugliest feet known to man.
It's the least surprising thing that you've told us about yourself is that you have ugly feet.
It doesn't have many hairs, though. It's kind of like a naked mole rat attached to my ankle.
I think that makes it worse. I think that the hair has the potential to cover up some of the blemishes that your feet may have. Also, I can just imagine Kayla and Dawn groaning at the idea of Lucas saying Zonly fans into the microphone. And I'm sure they really appreciate that. They're going to get all kind of comments about that later.
I'm the only one signed up.
Yeah, it's all centered around Robert.
Maybe Slay. Slay gets pedicures.
Buy some calendars. We could have a OnlyFans calendar release. How would you feel about that?
Russ in the F&M Bank chat is asking, hey, can we not talk about Bert's feet for a bit?
What else am I going to talk about? I've got 2 weeks to go till the draft. I know who you're picking in the first round. What do I care about Cam Ward at this point?
Well, Matt Miller of ESPN is suggesting that
Seamless transition.
The Titans will be aggressive in adding a wide receiver, even insinuating that they could trade up from number 35 to target a player like Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State or Luther Burden from Missouri.
So this is the exact blurb, and this is on ESPN.com. Is it an ESPN? Yeah, it's an ESPN Plus article, so I'll rob ESPN for the moment to tell you what it says. But this is the entire blurb. So it lays out the picks that the Titans currently have. 1, 35, 103, 120, 141, 167, 178, 188. So we know this. A first, a second, no third, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 2 sixths. The Titans already addressed the offensive line in free agency, adding veterans and left tackle Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler. They could best support a first-round quarterback by turning their attention to wide receiver, where they signed only free agent Van Jefferson and lost Nick Westbrook-Akina. This is an unproven group outside of Calvin Ridley, and it could see a boost, especially if one of the projected first-round receivers is available early in the second round, and that's analysis from Tehran. Matt Miller adds to this, all signs point to Cam Ward being the pick at number 1. So the thing to watch is what the Titans will do on day 2. They're lacking a third-round pick due to the L'Jarius Sneed trade. We all know this. And need a receiver to complement Ridley. Expect Tennessee to be aggressive in adding a wideout, possibly with a trade up from 35 to target a player such as Emeka Egbuka or Luther Burden. That would be surprising if they traded up.
Yeah, I mean, what are you getting in return, though? Is there a world in which the Titans could trade up in any situation, whether it's trading out of the second round or trading out of the fourth round to go up into the third? Is it possible for the Titans to go up to get the receiver that they want and still come out of this draft with the same amount or more picks than they currently have?
It would be an upset.
Yeah.
It would be a significant upset.
Like, what are you losing? What are you giving up to move from 35 into, let's say, the bottom part of the first round to go get a receiver?
One of your fourths, I would think, at minimum.
What did the Chiefs? Didn't the Chiefs trade up to go get Xavier Worthy?
Yes, because they traded with the Bills, famously. The Mahomes deal wasn't bad. The Mahomes deal that they traded up with the Bills for wasn't bad enough. They had decided to do it again and give Pat a receiver.
Yeah. And then, of course, it was Worthy who gashed the Bills in that AFC Championship game.
Not ideal.
Yes, I'm gonna find out exactly what that compensation was.
So you could potentially give up future picks as well, and that would give you a little more leeway to recoup draft value throughout the course of that. But I just cannot imagine. That to me seems like one of the least likely scenarios that happens. Now, and again, not based on any information, but just based on what they've. I mean, it is information. It's what they've said. They want more draft picks. There are still people in that building who would have preferred to trade back rather than Cam Ward. And, not everything falls to plan the way that you wanted. And you go about your business, and if you end up with a franchise quarterback out of the deal, I'm sure those people aren't going to care. But that organization is currently in the mode of, we need draft capital because our roster sucks. So to see them trade up to get a wide receiver, potentially at the bottom of the first round, in a wide receiver class that it's fine. It's not great by any stretch of the imagination. Like, there are plenty of questions about Luther Burden. Emeka Egbuka is a really solid, really nice player, features to be a productive player at a high level if in the right system for a long, long time. If he turns into anything close to Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's a win and a half.
So the Chiefs obviously held pick 32 in last year's draft, being Super Bowl champions. They traded up to 28 to go get Xavier Worthy. The Bills were sitting at 28, so you pick swap, right? Bills go down to 32. Chiefs go up to 28. The Chiefs also received a 4th rounder and a 7th rounder in exchange for sending the number 32 pick to the Bills, along with a 3rd rounder and a 7th rounder. So there was the pick swap plus a 3rd and a 7th in exchange for that spot to get Xavier Worthy, a 4th and a 7th.
Yeah, and guess what? You don't have a 3rd. So, I'm sure Matt Miller.
Maybe are you having to give up a 4th and a 5th in that situation?
Not worth it. And I mean.
Well, hold on. Put it this way. Let's say you're sitting there at 35, and there's no clear path right now to trade back and get the 3rd round pick that you don't have. You're sitting there at 35, and you're watching that run on receivers maybe start to take shape in the first round. And you're saying, okay, if Luther Burden were to fall to us at 35, we would take him there. So why not just move up into the first to get the guy that we want and give up a 4th and a 5th and maybe get another pick back to get the receiver that we really want? We have a pick in the 4th. We have a pick in the 5th, even if we give up those picks. I mean, it just depends on how much you love the player.
And where does he fall on their draft board is the kind of the end-all, be-all, and of course, we don't have the answer to that question. But I would have a really hard time justifying that, even as I am somebody who's pounded the drum or beat the drum for. They haven't drafted a wide receiver before the 6th round in the last 2 seasons. Rand Carthon never took a wide receiver. He went out and bought them in DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd and whomever else that did they sign any other free agent wide receivers with Rand that I'm missing? I don't think so. But you can't exist that way. And I know that it kind of flies in the face of what my end-all be-all for this draft is, which you do everything in support of that franchise quarterback. If you take that quarterback with the number 1 overall pick, you have no choice but to do that. So I understand that that's kind of counterintuitive to say, I don't love a trade up for a wide receiver, even as I'm acknowledging that you have to do everything humanly possible to support Cam Ward. You also have to be able to stop teams, and you have no pass rush. The pass rush is awful. Awful. And while I acknowledge that it might be a nice idea and things like that, and again, we have to see how the draft board breaks before we can even entertain this hypothetical, I just don't think there's a wide receiver good enough to trade up right now that would exist at the bottom of the first round that's so much better than one of the pass rushers that you can stand to add at 35? Or even add later by picking up additional draft capital? Because you can add a top 100 pick by trading out of the second round or trading back in the second round, which goes along with their stated goal of, 30 picks in the next 3 years and 12 picks in the top 100, or at least that's what they're aspiring to. 615-737-1045 is the number. You have headlines?
Sure do.
They're next.
All right, sun is going to be shining on Saturday. It's going to be a beautiful day. I want you to picture yourself sitting on a gorgeous rooftop with a picture-perfect view of downtown Nashville, watching the Masters, watching soccer all day on multiple TVs with a great drink selection and an awesome menu of British pub-style food, and you're picturing yourself at Fog Street Lawn Club. It's going to be action-packed this weekend. They're even open early at 6 a.m. for the Premier League action on Saturday. It is Nashville's premier soccer pub, but really, it's great for all sports, including the Masters this weekend. Check out the rooftop. It is the best view of downtown Nashville you will find. Trust me, you got to go to find out. Between games, challenge your friends to some lawn bowling on the rooftop for free. Play some cornhole, maybe. They're having a tournament this weekend as well with cornhole. Go downstairs for some axe throwing at Bad Axe. But this weekend, there is a watch party for Nashville Soccer Club's home game against Real Salt Lake, where Fog Street Lawn Club is partnering with Whiskey Gypsy. That is Eric Church's whiskey company for some great BOGO half-off specials and more. If you want the experience of downtown Music City with a nice escape from all the hustle and bustle of Broadway, Fog Street Lawn Club is perfect for you. Go hang out there this weekend and check them out, located on Fog Street.
It's time for NFL headlines with Lucas Panzica.
It's just so long.
It's not. It's the same amount of time every time.
So long.
It is cryptic social media post season for NFL players looking for a new situation, maybe a slight change to their current situation. And the latest is Steelers star edge rusher TJ Watt, who posted on his Instagram story just yesterday a photo of him jogging off the field wearing full pads without his helmet, throwing up a peace sign. And it's got Steeler fans, NFL fans scrambling. Is TJ Watt about to request a trade? Does TJ Watt want a new deal in Pittsburgh? He is about to enter the final year of his 4-year, $112 million contract. So as we still await news on Trey Hendrickson and a potential deal with the Bengals, he has expressed frustrations himself about that particular situation. Now questions pop up about TJ Watt, and it even has Ian Rappaport evaluating and analyzing Instagram posts on NFL Network from earlier today.
For the sake of me actually having a reason to talk about this, that it is something, okay? Now, did TJ Watt just say, you know what, I kind of look like a boss in that picture. I'm just going to put it up so the fans know how cool I am. That seems far-fetched to me. He is a cool dude, but I think people know that, so I don't think the picture is for that. So my guess, and this is only a guess, because again, we're reading into cryptic social media posts at 9:03 in the morning here. TJ Watt is in a contract negotiation situation with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've seen several top edge rushers get paid. Myles Garrett topping $40 million. We still have Micah Parsons need to get paid. We still have Trey Henderson needs to get paid. But TJ Watt, set to make just $21 million this year, is in that category. Generally, when a player makes a social media post, it forces us to talk about it on TV like we're doing right now. It is because contract negotiations are not going as well as anybody had hoped. If they were going well, if things were all wrapped up, then this would be more like this and less like this, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're reading into it. So I think we could safely say the contract talks between TJ Watt and the Steelers are not off to a rip-roaring start. Doesn't mean they won't get there. They've gotten there before. He is a great player who deserves every penny. But for the sake of this argument, right now in this discussion, let's assume that TJ Watt is not exactly the most thrilled person on earth dealing with this contract.
TJ Watt is 30 years old. He'll turn 31 mid-season going into the final year of his deal.
God, Rap Sheet's hot that he has to comment on this drama. It need two mentions that he's having to talk about this at 9:03. Got short temper there, Napoleon.
Why'd you do that to him? You didn't need to take him out.
You shouldn't have called the cops.
The Jordan Schultz thing.
What a weenie.
He didn't call the cops. He called NFL security.
The cops.
The cops would have been funnier. Imagine him calling the Indianapolis local police department.
I'll tell you one thing. If they carry Jordan Schultz out of there in handcuffs, that would make one badass picture. Just take a picture of him, the NFL Combine. That would be awesome.
God. All right. So to address what Bert just said about being annoyed by these things, as somebody who has covered one of these things, I do get that part of it, because having to regularly, I mean, almost hourly update A.J. Brown's social media accounts on my own social media just to see, oh my God, did he take the word Tennessee out of his bio this time? What's he doing? What's he tweeting? All these different things. And then he deletes the tweet, and then you missed a tweet that he deleted, and you're having to run it down. It's not the best.
I feel Rap Sheet's frustration, though. Like, you want to just say it's social media, just shut up, who cares? But unfortunately, like, this is how players message these things.
Correct. No, this is how agents message these things, because what time did he say that the post was put out, Robert? What time was TJ Watt's post go out? Did TJ Watt's post go out, did Rap Sheet say?
I'm not sure the actual time it was posted. I know this news came out late last night, I believe. Though.
Okay. Well, because I was going to say, if it was posted at 9:03 a.m., or maybe this is just when Rap Sheet was
that's just when they were talking about it on NFL Network.
Because there is something to the effect of...
He posted it, like Robert said, yesterday, 21 hours ago. His Instagram story is what it says.
Oh, my God.
This is the process now, right?
No, this is what it is. Like this is the opening of negotiations. Like, all right, how much can TJ put pressure on the organization by simply posting something on his Instagram story? And it makes national news, national sports news, not national news. But it makes national sports news because he's one of the best defenders in football. Everybody knows who TJ Watt is. He plays for a famous franchise. Steelers fans are going to freak the hell out because, one, we don't have a quarterback. Also, you're not going to pay TJ Watt. What are you doing, you idiots? Right? That's how it goes. What's it going to cost? He's not going to make as much money as Myles Garrett. There's no way.
You would think that, but I'm not sure this agent would think that. But
Sure.
I think it's worth mentioning, too, the Steelers have the highest paid defense in the NFL.
Mark Cabali, the Steelers reporter who allegedly fell asleep next to Mike Tomlin at owners' meetings, tweeted,
Allegedly.
after talking to people, I'd keep an eye on this Steelers TJ Watt contract situation moving forward a little more closely. It doesn't appear that the Instagram picture he posted yesterday was just by chance. I'd imagine an extension is still going to eventually get done, but the price tag just might be a bit higher than some anticipated.
Well, yeah, because Myles is getting $40 million a year.
40 mil. TJ was Defensive Player of the Year in 2021. He obviously missed about half the season in 2022, had a 19-sack season in 2023, and an 11.5-sack season in 2024.
There's no scenario in which the Steelers walk into 2025 without TJ Watt on the roster.
Surely not.
I would say no. But if they were to move him, what would you feel comfortable trading? One, would you feel comfortable with the Titans trying to acquire him? And two, what would you feel comfortable with parting with to acquire him?
If they're giving up draft capital, as Matt Miller alleges that they might, to trade up for a wide receiver that we don't know about, I would much rather them give up that second-round pick to go get TJ Watt. I don't know if that's enough.
You would think it would be enough. If you'll remember, the Steelers traded Chase Claypool to the Bears for a very high second-round pick. So I would argue it might take a little more, but who knows? With the contract, it depends how the conversation goes with the Steelers and how much progress they make on a potential extension.
If you're going to try to make a move for TJ Watt, you're doing that for the here and now. He'll be 31 this season, not for 2 to 3 years from now.
That's fine. I know what he is.
Yeah, but the Titans are saying that they're making moves for 2 to 3 years from now. So, and I kind of object to trading up to the first round to get a wide receiver. But if everything they're doing right now is with 2027 in mind, not necessarily 2025, then that doesn't make a ton of sense to me, giving up draft capital for a player like TJ Watt. Similarly to how I felt about the Myles Garrett thing. As soon as that pops up, oh my God, you got a chance to go get Myles Garrett. No. Don't give up the farm for Myles Garrett, a guy who, is he 30 at this point?
He's 30.
He'll be 31 when the season begins, I believe.
Right. And Myles Garrett, probably is going to be great for another 6-7 years. But draft, develop, retain is the motto. You're focused on 2027 and beyond. Don't go get a 31-year-old pass rusher that you got to give up capital for and pay big money to on a team that's probably going to struggle in 2025. That doesn't really add up with their formula moving forward.
Who's a better option at pass rusher, the 31-year-old TJ Watt, who's a former Defensive Player of the Year, or a defensive player that you might draft that you have no idea what he's going to do?
Sure, but it's not about
my rebuttal to that, and it's not,
about what you have to give up to get that player and how much that hinders you in building out this roster for the coming years, which is what they're talking about.
One draft pick, I'm so good with that. I mean, I'm sure Pittsburgh would have a steeper asking price than just the second-round pick, even though it is a high second-round pick, in a talented edge class. So, there might be some wiggle room there. But to your, what was the thing that you would always say when anybody would offer the potential scenario of not drafting Cam Ward number 1 overall to the Titans?
Who's going to play quarterback?
Who the hell is rushing the passer for this team?
Yeah, right now,
because
I don't know.
Arden had one of the best years that he's had, and they, respectfully to Arden Key, it's not enough. Jeff Simmons, just a good player. Jeff is an above-average player when he's right. He wasn't totally right last year, and there were some moments where it looked like Jeff Simmons is supposed to look, but it was few and far between. Tavondre Sweat is not a pass rusher as his primary MO. Draymond Jones is
Lorenzo Carter.
Lorenzo Carter is not a factor here, really.
Yeah, but that's who you were just trying to think of.
No, I was trying to think of Draymond Jones, and I said Lorenzo Carter. But they're both here. Draymond Jones is obviously, he should be a starter in some form or fashion, but you're still talking about one other starting caliber edge player that you have, so you can finally relegate Arden to what he needs to be, which is a rotational third down piece. Who the hell is rushing the passer for this team? They are one of the worst pass rush groups in football. They can't just neglect it. So I'm not actively advocating for a TJ Watt trade. But like, if of all the ridiculous things that we've talked about in the draft process, there are far more ridiculous ideas than giving up 35 overall to go get TJ Watt.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to rush the passer for this team next year. I also have an expectation that this team is not going to be a good football team next year. And I care more about the quarterback position and the future there than I do about edge rusher right now, which you can work on in the coming years. Kent says Titans should give up a third for him. Oh, wait. Ryan says, why would we want TJ? He's going to be 31, and we are years away from competing. It's just what you would have to give up for him. This is all a moot point. Like, TJ Watt's probably going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. They keep their players. They keep their stars.
But I'm so much more willing to entertain this hypothetical than like Myles Garrett.
Oh, well, yeah, for sure. But both kind of fall in a similar category for me in terms of it works directly against the way the Titans are trying to build out this thing.
Just get him the hell out of the AFC North.
Robert, can you imagine?
Imagine him being, somebody like Robert, a Ravens fan, saying that, and Titans fans being like, I don't want 31-year-old TJ Watt. Dumb.
The only dumb part is what Lucas is talking about. Kind of similar to the transitional tag that was placed on Lamar. The whole reason no one wanted to do that was because you would have to give up 2 first-round picks in addition to paying him to become the highest quarterback in the league. I understand why that would be a large step for the Titans, but we don't know if they're going to compete yet with the current roster construction.
It's like, of course you would love to have TJ Watt on this team, but that's just not where you are right now. TJ Watt, how much of a difference does TJ Watt make? Does that get you to the playoffs in 2025? Having a frustrated TJ Watt as the only pass rusher on a bad football team?
I don't care about them making the playoffs in 2025. I know some fans are saying, is Cam Ward going to be the difference? Stop it.
But that's 2 pass rushers in the AFC North whose situation is kind of up in the air right now.
After having been 3 of them.
Kent in the F&M Bank chat saying the Steelers do not pay their players. I think that's just historically false. That they have been able to keep their best players. They just paid Cam Hayward top of the market to be a 33-year-old defensive tackle.
It's crazy what he's doing, by the way. Cam Hayward is ungodly.
And again, paying Minka, paying TJ, reaching out and getting some other guys on the offensive side of the ball paid. I think they do pay their players. I think they retain the people that they know they can't replace.
Yeah. It's one of those things like the Titans are a cheap organization. They have paid so many top-of-market contracts in the last 10 years that's just not a narrative that should exist anymore, but it's a lazy thing that comes up every year. Curtis on YouTube says of my criticism of the Titans pass rush and specifically Jeff, which is, it's not unfounded and Jeff understands. He says, ooh, you're going to end up on Jeff's motivation tour. Now we didn't talk about this, or maybe you talked about it when I was out. You didn't like the Jeff Simmons social media thing.
Yeah, he put together that highlight reel with some social media posts from local media members talking about Jeffrey Simmons.
And some that were things that people said, but were not actual social media posts that somebody turned into a social media post or looked like a social media post.
Yeah. So I'm just like, come on, man. Let's I feel like we're focusing on the wrong things here. I just, from the outside, I don't like how heavily that seems to weigh on his mind.
He's very online.
Yeah. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Justin Fields spoke really for the first time.
Oh, my God. Did we get one headline in 36 minutes?
Yeah, pretty much.
20 minutes.
That's a big one. But Justin Fields spoke. The Jets had a media availability for him this week as the Jets' new quarterback, 2-year deal, $40 million. And he spoke on his experience in Pittsburgh last year, starting the first 6 games and then being benched once Russ was healthy. This was Justin Fields.
I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. So, I was put in a place where I wasn't, really never in a place of my entire life. So I think, I tried to have a different perspective on it. Of course, Russ has been in the league for a long time, so I learned a lot of great things from him and, got to kind of learn a different perspective of things. And, like I said, he's been in the league a long time. So just seeing how he works every day, seeing his routine and, picking up things that I can implement into my routine, into my game. So it was, of course, different for me in a space where I wasn't necessarily comfortable. But at the end of the day, like I said, Coach Tomlin, he made a decision where he thought was best for the team. And like I said, I'm never going to, go against that. Of course, I'm not a selfish guy whatsoever. So like I said, I just tried to change my perspective, get better each and every day in practice. And
so he's been very diplomatic. Said it's the first time he's experienced anything like that. He's been the guy almost everywhere he's been, not necessarily that first year at Georgia, but then at Ohio State and then in Chicago as a top 10 pick, but not really in Pittsburgh last year. So he seems like he's the guy with the New York Jets, but it got me thinking, what if the Jets take a quarterback at number 7 overall. It got me thinking, and we could talk about this later in the show, who's going to be the Falcons of this year's draft that has a quarterback that seems like is in line to be the starter, but wants to go with that approach of draft a quarterback when you don't need one. It seems to work out for a lot of teams. Could that happen in the top 10 of this year's draft? I don't know, but Justin Fields seems pretty solidified as the starter for the New York Jets. Kirk Cousins also felt that way when the Falcons gave him a $180 million contract.
So why don't we revisit that particular subject at 12:20, and we can also get into a couple of other things as well. We've got some friends coming in studio. Also, before you do that, don't you have something to tell people?
What do I have to tell people?
We
I don't
love
know.
you.
What's on the sheet of paper that you're supposed to read in the segment?
No, there's no papers in front of me. We're doing a bit of a musician's corner coming up on the other side. Ricky Young of the Wild Feathers and Tommy Putnam of Moon Taxi, Joel King, also of the Wild Feathers, will pop in to give us their perspective on what the Titans will do with the number 1 pick.
And
we'll be back.
And we'll be back is how he's going to throw at the break. How the hell do you guys do the show when I'm not here? I'm Buck Reisig. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. So Lucas has decided that he's on a tour of torturing famous Titans fans at this point in time by dragging them in studio and then asking them what they would do if their favorite franchise does not draft Cam Ward. Lucas, who have you recruited to join us today?
We're doing a bit of a musician's corner today. Ricky Young from the Wild Feathers and Tommy Putnam from Moon Taxi are in studio to talk about what the Titans are going to do at the top of the draft as we come back to some Wild Feathers. I never told you this, but I heard this song in a Ross Dress for Less once.
Oh.
Yeah, just walking around. I was like,
checks
hey,
out.
that's Ricky and the guys.
Did you make a purchase?
No, I walked out.
Oh, okay.
You just danced around naked in the dressing room listening to it.
That was enough for you.
Yeah.
Boys, it's good to see you.
You too, Buck.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. It's always good to see old friends and to talk shop from a different perspective. So how are you? How are you in the state of your fandom? How have you handled this offseason? What are the vibes?
I mean, I've just been listening to you guys every day pretty much.
Oh, my God.
That's where I get my sports news from. It's been a lot of draft talk and a lot of speculation, but
I was going to say, you must be very ill-informed then.
yeah.
We don't know anything.
Well, I do have some other sources, but we're not going to get into that.
Ooh.
I think I'm
Jake
just
Journo.
I think I'm just ready for it to be over.
Oh.
The draft. You know what I mean? Like it's exciting and I'm optimistic, but who knows?
It made me laugh, Ricky, at your birthday celebration / watching the Vols just dismantled the Kentucky Wildcats at a bar in East Nashville here a couple of weeks ago, where you immediately wanted to talk shop, and it delights me. But that you were kind of on the fence about where things stand because you got to draft this quarterback and
right.
that will provide some level of hope
Right.
for where things are going. But where are you on the current configuration of who's running the team?
Oh man, that's a good question. Do you have an answer for that?
I have no idea.
But I think that speaks for the fan base. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like, man, I don't know. Like, just
Yeah.
draft the quarterback and
I just
move
want to
on.
win some games, and like enjoy. I've always, as being a Titans fan my whole life, growing up in Houston, being an Oilers fan, then moving here not long after the team did. You always just want a shot at winning. Not, it's not dread come Sunday, and friends, family get together and say, "Oh, hope we can pull this one out." And it's, just optimism is what we want and a bright future.
Well put, Ricky.
Thanks, man.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
So you're both in the mode. Are you in the mode of you just want it to be over too, Tommy?
It feels like it's an election year.
2 weeks out.
The
The most important draft
yeah,
of our
exactly,
lives.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting for the golf debate to break out between the two candidates.
Oh yeah. What were you gonna say, Tommy?
I wasn't planning on saying anything.
So what would, starting with Ricky, what would your reaction be if the Titans did not draft Cam Ward with the number 1 pick?
I mean, I think they would hopefully have a smart plan in mind and fill some holes that need filling, I would guess. But I don't know. It kind of seems like all signs point to Cam. So we'll just have to see. I don't know.
I mean, how many times did they go see him play, like pro day? One of those passes that he threw for like 90 yards or something like that. I was like, okay, this guy.
That one rolling to his left.
Yeah. I mean, I was just like, okay, that guy's got an arm. He reminds me of Steve McNair. So, and I think that points to the fact that they're going to draft him. If they don't, they should get a huge haul. Like trade back to like maybe 12 or whatever. I don't know who would trade for him, but get another first-round pick for next year and maybe a second rounder or something like that. I don't know what the draft capital works as, but get a haul for it.
Tommy Putnam of Moon Taxi and Ricky Young from the Wild Feathers are hanging out in studio with us. So, let's go through that prism because a lot of people have called him Steve McNair or made the comp to Steve McNair.
It's probably the most common.
Well, it's just such an easy thing for people to vibe with. But to me, I hate that. I hate it.
I apologize.
No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Steve wasn't Steve until he was, even when he got into the league. You know what I'm saying? And so for this kid to come in here for a franchise that's in hell, for a fan base that's hanging by a thread, and to immediately get dubbed, the heir to McNair. Ooh, I love that. He's going to take us to the promised land or back in the Super Bowl. This time will be different. It won't be 1 yard short. It'll be Traylon Burks diving into the end zone or something ridiculous. all of these jobs come with pressure. You guys are entertainers. That job comes with pressure, the pressure to perform, the pressure to write, the pressure, all these different things. So it's not like there's anything that you can do to make it a less pressurized existence. But the thing that I hate the most is just cranking it up to 11 right out of the gate before he's even practiced.
Right,
here.
all the expectations, when you hate the comparison to McNair, I hate the term generational talent. And I think I've heard you talk about that before, too.
Oh, it makes me sick.
It's so much expectations on like a young kid. Like, let them grow and develop,
You're talking about pressure. A lot of times when you have these post-game interviews with someone that made maybe the game-winning touchdown catch or whatever, and they usually just say, I'm just happy I didn't screw up. That's how I feel when I walk off stage a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just happy I didn't mess it up.
Well, playing bass is, there's a lot laying on you,
Yeah, if I mess up, everybody knows.
Right. See, I'm playing acoustic guitar and no one even knows if I'm
you can
playing
play whatever you
It's like
want.
Winona Judd up there.
Yeah, your volume's not even on.
A shot.
Yeah. I keep it off on purpose.
Imagine if we operated with any kind of fear of at least we didn't screw that up. I mean, the amount of times we screw up, and this is not a pressurized
Oh, it
job.
happens all the time for us. I know for a fact.
I make at least one mistake in the show.
Yeah, but you guys, and obviously the dynamics of a band, like you guys know each other enough, you know the rhythms of the song, you know everything that you need to know to be able to make it into whatever it needs to be, despite having, a setback here or there and maybe you hit the wrong chord or whatever.
The looks you get from the rest of the band is the worst part.
Well, bass sticks out like crazy. I mean, if the bass, the root note is off, everything sounds like everyone's screwed up. I've cut eyes at Joel a million times. He's like, dude, wait. He's like, it's just part of it. That's
It's
live
just
music.
funny imagining Joel too because of who he
keep it
is.
moving.
Right.
It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I could not play bass live.
I know, Ricky, you guys, the Wild Feathers, y'all were on tour for a big chunk of football season. Were you guys on the road, Tommy, for a lot of football season last year?
We were a good bit. We're doing kind of one-offs right now.
Okay. So when you're on tour and you're going to Albuquerque and Wisconsin or whatever in the middle of a Titan season, I mean, you guys will convene, right, just to watch the game somewhere. At what point last year did you guys just stop even devoting a chunk of time to watch the Titans after they
we
were out of
didn't
contention?
stop just because it was like
Really?
Yeah,
Good
I
for
mean,
you.
Joel and I are hardcore Titans fans. Taylor's a Cowboys fan. Ben's kind of a Titans fan.
Big Georgia Bulldog, yeah.
Yes, that's all that really matters to him. But yeah, when you tour as long as Moon Taxi and we have, it's like, Chicago, let's go see the city. It's like, no, let's go to a sports bar, get some wings, drink free domestic beer. I mean, not free, but like
Cheap.
cheap. That's what I mean. It's definitely not free. But yeah, and we watched every game.
Yeah, we do too. We watch every sports game. I mean, and we've done everything we can do on the road. So
Right. Let's go see the Capitol. No, let's go.
Actually, we did go see
Go
the
to Buffalo
Capitol. We
Wild Wings.
got a really cool tour of the Capitol from an East Tennessee congressman.
That's cool.
Yeah, he took us into his office and everything was awesome.
If only they would, that is awesome. If only they would have paid off that devotion by having just a single moment of hope throughout the course. That was the lowest moment of last year for you, Tommy.
Oh gosh, the lowest moment.
Yeah.
Gosh, come with the hard questions.
There were a few. I mean, you got options here.
Last year, lowest moment, probably Alabama not doing well in the playoff, or did they even make the playoff? They didn't make the playoff.
They did not make the playoff.
Yeah, that was probably it.
Ricky?
Well, I mean, just being a Tennessee sports fan, really. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Just the entire existence.
Yeah, I really wanted Tennessee to carry on and beat Houston, play like they did against Kentucky, but Houston's just a way better team. That was kind of devastating. But, yeah, I mean, it's still fun, just like baseball and stuff. It, like, breaks your heart. It makes you happy. You still come back year in, year out, so
I'd like
it's just entertainment.
I'd like to revise my answer.
You may.
I was at the Alabama Vanderbilt game,
Oh.
and losing that game was devastating.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
At the just the joy that it brought. You guys know who Jim Wyatt is, who works for the team. Jimmy, a diehard Vanderbilt fan, rushed the field with his wife after the fact. Somewhere in the stands, Tommy Putnam just drops his head into his hands and sobs because Jalen Milroe can't figure out Clark Lee's defense.
I didn't cry, but I had to walk out, like walking down each stand. Right? I couldn't take the stairs because there were so many people.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Brutal.
Wild Feather's about to be on tour, right? You guys hitting the road soon?
End of this month. Yeah, just a 1 week East Coast run. Should be fun. Better weather.
And what's coming up for Moon Taxi?
I was showing Houston on Saturday and some other things throughout the spring. Not a whole lot this summer, and then a bunch in the fall.
You can check it out at ridethemoontaxi.com for more information. You can also check out everything that the Wild Feathers are doing on social media. The website for the Wild Feathers is thewildfeathers.com.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, thewildfeathers.com. I discovered it. I just wanted to make sure because I wouldn't have said ridethemoontaxi.com until I pulled it up. I just want to double check.
That's a great website name.
It is, and they do great work. You can see them perform here locally when they get around to it. I had so much fun at the Exit Inn here recently. I think it's the first time I've been to the Exit Inn for that Wild Feather show, and looking forward to seeing Moon Taxi back in action here in the near future. Boys, always good to see you. Thanks for chopping it up.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Lucas.
Coming up next, the final hour, Louis Riddick. I almost called him Lou Riddick, like I know him like that. Louis Riddick just compared Cam Ward to Patrick Mahomes. We'll talk about it next. Will I have enough money when I retire? When should I start to draw from Social Security? A lot of us have asked